Welcome everybody to Review Please Video Game Edition, and today we're going to be talking about Starfield. And I'm your host, Jesus, and with me, as always, is L. L, how the hell are you son of a gun?
I'm doing well. I'm just here, ready, excited to talk about Starfield. I'm not going to say I have a lot, but I think I have quite a few things to say about this. I was going to say controversial, but it's not really controversial. It is, but it isn't. Kind of game. But I'm excited nonetheless. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready to talk about Starfield too. I've been sitting on this for a while. We are, 3 months late? 3 months late at this point
3 months
to
late.
review this. We're coming in after all the hype is gone.
Yep.
After all the reviews have come out. After all the anger has come out and all the support has come out. It's been a whirlwind for Starfield, I think, in terms of just like critic reception, player reception, the discourse behind it and everything. It's been an interesting 3 months just seeing how people have reacted to Starfield, because I think I am very different in the perception of Starfield. Maybe other people are in a similar boat to me. I think we're gonna see, because we haven't really talked about Starfield, so I actually don't know your thoughts too much about Starfield. I think you probably know more about my thoughts based on like conversations that we've had. But like for you, I don't know. I just don't know. The last time we talked about Starfield, I was me asking you, "Hey, have you started Starfield?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm going to start it now. I'm going to start it this weekend."
Yeah.
I was like, "Cool."
Yeah.
That was like the extent of my knowledge about Starfield with you. But yeah. So to dive into Starfield, obviously this is Bethesda's newest IP. This was their first IP since Elder Scrolls. So their newest IP since an Elder Scroll game. Currently, Starfield is sitting at an 85 on OpenCritic. IGN gave it a 7 out of 10. PC Gamer gave it a 75. Game Informer gave it an 8.5. GameSpot gave it a 7. So it's kind of like in that 7-8 range, leaning more towards the 8. Obviously, there were some outlets that gave it like 9s and 10s and stuff, which is, cool. But for the most part, it lands in that 7-8 range. And I think this is a game that absolutely fits within that 7-8 range. There are two specific things that I want to talk about. Two specific things I want to talk about. But before we get into that, what are your top level thoughts, El? How are you enjoying Starfield? Just how are you enjoying it?
So here are my top level thoughts, Starfield. So first, getting into it. So I actually started playing it a little bit, kind of initially when it close to the release, but I didn't really get too far into it before I kind of put it down because I had other stuff that I had to do. But I'll say this, upon getting back into it and then like just playing it. So here's the thing. I think what you said earlier actually is kind of like perfect for it, where I think it sits the 85 it got, the 75 in that range, from that 75 to 85, type of score that it's been getting. I think that's actually perfect to where I think it should be. I'll say this, that I think it's really cool, space exploration, the aspects of Starfield, of you just getting to go from system to system, from planet to planet. I think that's so interesting, just because I know for me, I find that very interesting, just like, space travel, doing jumps here and there, exploring these planets and these crazy creatures on there and stuff like that, and just doing other missions. I thought that was so cool. Now, to not go too deep, but like another thing I'll say is that there is something about this game's, like, I don't think it's attention to detail, but it's more so like certain things. I think it almost feels like at moments where they kind of gave too much variety or too much choice. For example, like a lot of the times there was a lot of stuff that I just did not care about personally for me. Like, for example, how much detail was put into, like, for example, just whether it be like customizing your ship. After a while, I thought that was really cool, but then after a while, I kind of lost interest in it, just because I was like, well, I don't always want to upgrade this. stuff like that, or like there was something yesterday that I wanted to tell you, like to talk about it here on the video. Let me try to think. Crap, I can't remember. After a while, I think what happens is for me, I got overwhelmed with so many things that you could do that there was a part of me that I was like, I just kind of wish it only gave me maybe like 5 different things that I could do, so that way I could focus on this one thing, the main storyline. And it's just, there's so much to do where I think sometimes for me that was a little bit of a detriment.
Yeah.
And it kind of hurt the
about.
game. And so the game kind of it hurt itself in that way. Like there was one moment I'll tell you, I think early on in the game, there's like, you're on some I don't know which main mission, but one of the main missions, you're on the planet trying to basically, throughout the game you go through and you pick up those artifacts, collecting them.
Trying to bring the pieces together to see what happens when you bring all the pieces.
Exactly.
Essentially, I don't want to spoil anything. We'll spoil stuff here in a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah. And so there was a moment like that, and then so randomly I'd be like, okay, so I know, they give you markers of where the artifact is or where you should go. But there are moments there where like, I was like, well, let me see what else is going on in here on this planet just for a little bit because I have time. And so I would explore, and then, I realized that this is where I think it started to mess me up a little bit, where I would see certain machines, like there's a weapon customized upgrade machine. There's a cooking weapon, or excuse me, a cooking upgrading or creation customization.
Out in the middle of nowhere?
Out in the middle of nowhere.
You're just like, what is this doing here?
Yeah. And then there was like something else. Oh, and then there's a medical creation thing just sitting out here. And I was just like, so you mean to tell me that if this is I wish that was simpler. Let me just say that. I wish that was simpler, and I wish it could have been done maybe like from some sort of like game menu and stuff. But like those little things, I started to notice them pop up a little bit more when I would kind of go into a planet, or I would fight random NPCs and stuff. And after a while, I was just like, I feel like I'm just better off finding med packs here, or I'm better off just picking up a gun from some sort of enemy or something like that. And after a while, I was like, this is so much to think about with if you want to, upgrade your gun, you have to get these resources. If you want to cook something, you have to pick up these things. If you want to create things, you have to pick up these random minerals and do all these things. It was a lot at times, but
it was
for being long-winded. But I'd say that's one of the detriments. I think that at moments I'd be so focused and I'd be like taken out a little bit, because I was like, oh, if I want to upgrade something, or if I want to create something or make some sort of medical aid thing, I have to keep in mind to also look for these resources. And then after a while, I kind of just said, you know what? I'm just going to look for med packs, because that's it's going to make my life a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
But I'd say, but overall, I think 75 to the 85 range is actually perfect for it. Because I know we'll go deeper into it, but just top level thoughts, I think that's what kind of messed me up at certain times throughout the game. But overall, I think it's not like a great game, but I think it's a good game. I think it's okay. Just because space and travel, I think there are moments that it's really cool where you're like, whoa, these artifacts, like the mystery of the artifacts and stuff like that. And just even traveling, I think it's cool. But anyway, sorry for being long-winded.
No, it's all good, man.
But yeah.
I'm interested. I meant to ask you before we dived into this. What's your history with Bethesda games? Like with Elder Scrolls and Fallout? Like, do you have a history with Bethesda game studio games?
So I have like not really too much of a history. I mean, I've played Fallout 3. I never played any of the Elder Scrolls games.
Not even Skyrim? I mean, it's everywhere. Skyrim's on everything.
I think whenever Skyrim, whatever iteration of remaster or whatever anniversary,
it gets an anniversary every year, pretty much.
Exactly. I think I had wanted to do it, but then there was always some game that kind of like would distract me, and then I would forget about it. And then what always tends to happen every year is like I'll be on social media, and then people would show off Skyrim, and I'm like, oh, I have to play that game, and I just never would get to it. Which I do want to play it, but I just never got to it or anything like that. And so, but other than that, I know a little bit about the Fallout New Vegas, but I never really played it, but I wanted to play that.
Fallout New Vegas wasn't Bethesda, so it's Obsidian, actually. So.
Oh, okay.
So I know you like Outer Worlds. So there you
Yeah.
go. Outer Worlds, New Vegas. So you might like New Vegas.
Yeah, but I'd
'Cause
say
it's-
I played a little bit of Fallout 3, but then after a while, I got kind of bored just
Yeah.
because it was like Liam Neeson couldn't keep me at that game.
I mean,
but-
Liam Neeson's only in there for maybe a total of 30 minutes. Like his
Yeah.
dialogue total is probably like 30 minutes. So,
But
Yeah.
overall, I think besides that, not too much history with them.
okay. Yeah, so for me, I love Bethesda games. I have a long history. I've been playing Bethesda games since I was a wee lad. So yeah, I'm a little biased here. So my top level thoughts with Starfield.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go ahead and jump the gun here.
Okay.
I'm gonna give my ranking for it already. You don't have to.
Whoa.
Al. You don't have to.
Okay.
But I'm doing this because I feel like, despite what I'm about to rank it, I'm gonna be very negative for the next 20 minutes.
People are gonna be like, you hate this game.
Yeah, and I want to make it clear that I absolutely love this game. I love Starfield. It is my favorite Bethesda game. It is my number one game right now out of all the games that we played for Review Please Video Game Edition. It is my number one.
Wow.
But that comes with a big caveats that I think are unique to me. One of them being like, this game, you have to find the fun is the best way I can put this. You have to be proactive. You have to find the fun. If you come in this expecting the fun to be there from the start, it's not there. And I hate when people, I hate when people say this, and I'm about to be one of those people that I hate. But it's like, you have to play 10 hours of this game before it actually gets good. Yeah. That's actually true with Starfield. Because, man, this game starts and it's just like, fuck. Like, I did not enjoy the game when I started it. As I progressed through it, as I started playing Faction Quest, as I started exploring more, as I started doing more and more stuff, I started loving Starfield. And looking back, I feel like this is the kind of normal thing for me when I've played Bethesda games. Where I will start a Bethesda game, whether it's Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 4, and I'm like, I'm not having fun. And then within like 3, 4, 5 hours after just forcing myself to play, I'm like, oh, I'm starting to see what the fun is. That is with Starfield. The problem with Starfield is that it takes a lot longer to find that fun because the game kind of drags a lot, especially early on. It is dragging its feet a lot of the times. It's a weird situation with Starfield where it's simultaneously holding your hand at the beginning, but also kind of like, go do whatever you want to do, but also you need to do these things. And I'm like, okay, like you're holding my hand, but you're also not holding my hand. And it's like a weird whiplash where it's like, I feel like you're giving me too much freedom, but you're not giving me enough freedom because I have to go do this thing so I can unlock these certain abilities and certain aspects to the game. And it's like, it conflicts with itself a little bit too much. And I think that's a big turnoff for a lot of people, which is why I think like the 75, 85 range is totally warranted. Because there is a lot of just sort of whiplash, especially early on in the game, where it's just like there are certain things you have to do if you want to be able to do certain things. And it's really annoying because at the same time, it's like, oh, you can do anything you want. But before you can do that, you need to do this. And it's like, okay, let's calm down with that. Then we can't do everything that we need to do first. So like that is the big thing for me. That's like the number one thing I wanted to talk about was this idea of finding fun. Elle, did you feel that? Like when you started the game, did you feel like you had to find the fun before you could enjoy the game? Like, was there a certain point where you're like, oh, it's the 3-hour mark, the 4-hour mark, where I was like, oh, I'm finally invested in the game? Or were you invested from the rip?
So I think in the beginning, I did feel that the thing of kind of like it's leading you, telling you like, hey, let's go do this, let's go do that, you got to do that. I think for me in the beginning, I was initially just like kind of pulled in because of the curiosity of like, okay, what is this about? What are we doing? And then I didn't mind the like, hey, we're gonna lead you this way, just so that way, you can get an understanding of what you need to do, places that you can go, stuff that you can visit. And then after a while, I think there was a moment that I had when I was playing where you can tell that the holding the hand kind of just sort of ends. And then I was like, oh, I can go do whatever I want. I was I was like, oh. And at first it took me a second. I was like, but I want you to tell me where to go. Like, you kind of had that like weird, for me, I had that weird, like, I mean, well, what's the main mission? Let me just look up the mission logs and then, all these extra things. And for me, I think I was okay with it just because it's a lot to like, to take in as far as like understanding like just the weapon system, understanding just like how space travel works, jumping from solar system. It's a lot of navigation in the menus for this game, and so
that's the worst part of it. This is the worst part of the game, in my opinion. Is that like how much time you're going to spend in the menus is the most annoying aspect to this game.
Yeah. But to basically just answer your question, I think I would notice it, but I didn't mind it at first, and it took me a little bit because I do remember having a moment where I was just like, but what am I doing? Like where am I going? But then after a while, I got that kind of like wind of like, oh, we're exploring space, so let's just go explore just whatever. And then, if you want to do a mission, you can. But I think there would be moments where I'd be on a planet and I would just kind of roam somewhere and I'd be like, I wonder what's over here. And I would have fun like scanning stuff, looking at things and just trying to find certain like anomalies and things like that. And I'm like, whoa, this is pretty cool. And so it had its moments. But after a while, I think that curiosity just took over. And I was like, I know the mission is to go do this, but I can also explore what's over here. So let's go do that,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people coming into Starfield, I think that can be a big turnoff. Obviously, it is a big turnoff because there's a lot of people who just be like, I've been 5 hours into this game and it's not fun. And I'm like, I can totally understand why people are saying that. Like, I think that's my biggest thing too. Like, after I'm about probably 40-ish hours into Starfield, so I'm not even like that much into it, but like. It was like around hour 5-6 for me where I was like, things started finally clicking for me where I was like, this is what the game is. Kind of reflecting on this too. This is going to be a controversial statement, probably. Maybe, I don't know. And if someone has a problem with what I'm about to say, is like, whatever. I feel like this is the case with all Bethesda games. Like, even with Skyrim, with Fallout, with any of them, they all have this marker where you can like pinpoint a time where the game starts becoming fun at this certain point. Because Skyrim, fucking goddamn, like the first couple hours of that game fucking sucks, dude. Like, someone who's repeatedly played it, it sucks. Like it's kind of a drag. That's why there's mods that kind of like accelerate that opening part. And same with like Fallout and Fallout 4. It's like Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. It's like, the first couple of hours kind of suck. They're not fun, at least in my opinion. Like, as someone who's played them all, who loves Bethesda games, I'm like, this Starfield kind of falls into the mode. It's just the problem with Starfield that it takes a lot longer, I feel like. But that's my number one big thing, was just like this idea of finding fun, of finding that fun, of finding when is it going to click with you? Because I think it's entirely possible that after 6 hours, 7 hours of dedicating time to the game, if you're not having fun, then there's no point in continuing playing it. Honestly, like, if you're not having fun within the first 2-3 hours, then stop playing Starfield. Because like, I don't think you'll find the fun after 2 or 3 hours. Maybe you will. I think maybe you can, because for me it was like hour 5 or 6, and that was me forcing myself to play it, and because I love Bethesda games. But like, if you don't like Bethesda games, or if you've never played a Bethesda game before, and you are like, I'm not enjoying this game after 2-3 hours, you probably aren't going to find a lot of fun to Starfield, because Starfield isn't really it. there's this idea of illusion of choice, illusion of being able to do whatever you want to do, but it's all an illusion. Like, at the end of the day, it's not real. Like, you can try to persuade people to, not fight you, but at the end of the day, you're going to fight a lot of people. Like, like this idea that, you can go through this game without killing people is like, that's not true. You're gonna fight a lot of people. You can definitely spec your character to be a person that talks themselves out of situations and stuff, but to talk yourself out of situation, those are going to be specific to quests. That's it. Like, if you want to be a silver-tongued, smooth, kind of suave person that talks his way out of stuff, that's only going to happen in quest lines. That's never going to happen with the rest of the game. And the rest of the game is the bulk of the game. When you're out exploring, when you're out on planets and all that, you're going to be fighting a lot and you're going to be exploring a lot. There's not going to be a lot of opportunity to use your silver tongue in those situations. So there's this illusion of choice with Starfield, and that's the illusion of choice with all Bethesda games. Yeah. And people need to recognize that now because it's important. Because, like, again, that's why I feel like this is a controversial statement for me. I don't necessarily think people acknowledge that fact with Bethesda games where it's this illusion of choice. It's an illusion of choice, especially, it's hard not to compare Starfield to Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 has choice. Like, there is a multitude of choices that go different ways where storylines will play out differently. Starfield is not like that. There is just kind of like every quest line, there's one path pretty much forward, and you can choose dialogue, but that dialogue is not really going to affect anything because there's really only one outcome. Now, if you're playing the main storyline, things might deviate a little bit. There is 2 different paths at the end of the main campaign where you'll save the station or not save the station, essentially, if you've made it that far. But those are the only 2 choices, so it's not really a choice. Like, it's like you're gonna get one or the other, and then they still have the same ending. So it's like it's an illusion of choice. Whereas like things like Baldur's Gate 3 has so many different choices and so many different paths that it's like, oof, Starfield needs to. And it sucks for Starfield that Starfield came out a month after after Baldur's Gate 3, because I think that's a lot of reasons why people are kind of low on Starfield, is because, like, you had an extremely epic game that came out a month before. Exactly. That was nearly perfect in every regard. So Starfield, like, there's this illusion of choice and trying to find that fun within it. And it's entirely, you can find that fun. Like, I found the fun. It sounds like you found the fun at a certain point. So you can find it. It's just, you have to be willing and open to finding it, because it's kind of hard to find and you have to dedicate hours. It's not going to be within the first hour that you're going to find the fun.
Definitely.
And I think that's the big detriment with Starfield, is that, like, after the first hour or two, maybe you'll find the fun. Maybe you'll see the vision of Starfield. But man, you're going to need to play it for a little while before that fun really kicks in. And I think that's the big negative of Starfield.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because it definitely, because if you're not used to it, and it's funny just because, like, what you said earlier, you're a big fan of Bethesda, and I've played only like a handful and not even really to completion a certain game. So this is like the first one that I took on to, like, really want to play it. And just that, finding the fun is, like, probably like the best statement that can be associated with this game, just because I did have that moment, as you did, of where, like, there were certain moments where I think I would be fighting enemies and stuff like that, and I was so enamored with the combat in space, just like being able to, you're on different planets with different gravity, and just having fun with that, and thinking of, like, cool ways to, like, jump and attack somebody and stuff like that, just shoot them and things like that. And that was entertaining to me. Or, like, even, like, just exploring here and there random, like, stations that were on the planets that you were exploring, and just being like, oh, this is cool. Even, like, I found a lot of the fun once they kind of let me do my own thing, where even like analyzing, this is going to sound very like nerdy, even sometimes like digging and analyzing the minerals, I'd be like, oh, this is pretty cool. I find that entertaining just because I was like, let me take that mineral.
Let me tell you about a game called No Man's Sky, because that sounds like you'll have a lot of fun with No Man's Sky.
It was a lot of fun. And then things like that, and even like fighting in space with your ship, I thought was pretty cool. And at times it can be a little annoying just because of course it's space, and so like people will chase me, and then trying to get behind them, and sometimes you get a little bit like discombobulated. You're like, which way am I? What are we doing?
Where are we going?
And if you're not used to the controls. But
yeah.
Other than that, I found it like very like I did find the fun eventually, but I can definitely see like how you were saying, where someone who might not be used to that, or kind of like finding the fun on their own, I could definitely see why that would be a turnoff for a lot of people. And it makes sense why maybe certain people were like, I am not having a good time with this, because where's the entertainment? Or, I just don't get it. And that makes a lot of sense. But I think for me, like you said, and then I know a lot of people said as well when they were initially reviewing it when it released, and they were like, it's going to take some time for you to actually really get into Starfield. And that's like the truest thing that everyone said. That is so true. And, for a lot of people, if they're not prepared or used to that, I could definitely see why people maybe would be like, I'm going to put this down because I'm not having a good time, and I don't want to feel like I'm forcing myself to enjoy this just to get to something. And then maybe to them, they might get to that point where they're finally like, where you're supposed to have, or where most people have fun, and they like, I'm not enjoying this at all, but it's interesting. But I think that for me, this game, I think like it almost feels like it's a Bethesda game, but there are moments where I'm like, this feels like very niche, as far as like it, even though this game is for everybody, it was made for everyone, it feels like it was made for a specific audience, of course, if you're into Bethesda. And there are like what I said earlier, where there were moments where I'm like, this feels like a lot, but then there'd be moments where I'm like, well, even though there are a lot of menus that you have to navigate, there's a lot of customization that you can do with your ship, with your weapons, with food, with medical things, with exploration, stuff like that. Even though some of those things I wasn't into, I'm like, I'm happy that they're there though. Like, I'm happy that they exist, because I think it's better to have all of that extra stuff and not sometimes maybe not even go into it, versus like having less and wishing that you had more, if that makes sense,
No, I completely understand. Like, the more you have a lot more to interact with, and like, I think part of finding the fun is picking and choosing what works for you. Like, if you're not vibing with the exploration and you just want to do quest lines, there's a lot of quests you can do. Like, you can do the main storyline. There's a lot of factions, and some of the faction quests are incredible. Like, let's like make no mistake. Like, some of those faction quests, what I can't remember the name of the Free Star faction, right? Free Star. What is their full name? Free Star Collective. Yeah, the Free Star Collective. Oh, yeah. Their quest line is incredible. Like, if you've played, I don't know if you've played it all the way through, but it's fucking awesome, dude. Like, so like, if you want to just play quest lines, join different factions, because there's so many different factions in the game that you can join. If you like exploring, explore. And it's like, I think that's part of finding the fun, is finding what is working for you. So if you like exploring, go explore. If you like creating ships and base building, create ships and base building. Obviously, you're going to have to like find resources and make money and stuff to be able to do the ship customization or build bases on different planets and stuff. Like, there's things you're going to have to do, and that's the case with faction quests too. You're going to do a lot of stuff that you're not going to enjoy, but that's part of finding the fun, is finding what works for you. And I think Starfield does I think that's it's a negative and a positive with Starfield, where there's so much you can do. There's just so much you can do. You can explore, you can join factions, you can just go out and live your fantasy of being a space pirate. That's entirely viable. Like, you just you attack ships and take their shit. Like, you can do that. So like, Starfield has so much you can do. And so I think that's the plus. I do think that's a plus side and a negative side to Starfield, is that there's so much to do, but also it makes it hard to pinpoint what's going to resonate with you. What's going to be that thing that makes you go, oh, this is what Starfield is, and this is what I should do to keep enjoying it. And then maybe eventually you'll get tired of it and you'll try something new and be like, oh, actually, doing these quest lines was amazing. So like, I think Starfield, it's a double-edged sword with Starfield in that regard, with this idea of finding fun, where it can be a detriment, but also be a path to endless possibilities, because there's just so much into Starfield. It's so vast. It's so big that I think, but that's why I think Bethesda created something special. Like, I do think Starfield is something special, and it's why it's my favorite Bethesda game studio game, because there's just so much packed into this game that it's hard to pinpoint what's going to work for certain people.
Very true. Very true.
The other big thing that I wanted to talk about, and this annoyed me, and this is only because I've been playing so much Baldur's Gate 3 these last couple of weeks. Man, NPCs feel like so fucking robotic in Starfield.
Yeah,
it's beyond annoying. It's beyond annoying. Like in Starfield, NPCs are just there to give you quests and give you lore. That's it. They give you quests to give you lore, and that's it. They have like they're so freaking robotic. Even like I think the main quest line is the only time you see them like see NPCs have like emotion. But everything outside of it, even in the faction quest, characters are just like, here's your mission. Go do this mission. And I'm just like, dude. It's frustrating, and it's more noticeable for me because I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3, where every single NPC in Baldur's Gate 3, no matter how small their role is, whether they're just going to be there for 2 seconds, they all feel like they have a life. Starfield, nobody feels like they have a life. And it is frustrating, and it breaks the immersion of Starfield, where everything just feels so robotic, where you're just like, oh, I'm going to this person. They're going to give me a quest, or they're going to tell me a bunch of shit that I don't care about. That, like, those are really the only two things that are happening. They're going to give me a quest, or they're going to tell me a bunch of shit I don't care about. And then I'm going to go off and do whatever they want me to do. Like, that's all that Starfield is when you interact with NPCs. And it's frustrating beyond belief. Especially, again, because of how much I've played of Baldur's Gate 3, it's very noticeable for me, and it's frustrating to me. So sorry that I'm comparing this to Baldur's Gate 3, but it's also very much warranted, in my opinion.
Yeah. Agreed. Definitely. I think, it's just the interactions, just like you said, besides the main quest line, everyone, it's because you can definitely feel it and see it whenever you just like you said, doing the main quest line and just interacting with the main cast of the main story,
the Constellation group,
the Constellation group, and they're just like giving backstory, and you can just talk to them about things, and it's like, oh, you feel like there's something here. And then, like you said, as soon as there'd be moments where you just leave like the little lodge or whatever that they had on that initial Earth planet, and like
New Atlantis,
you'd walk
right, New
Atlantis, exactly, and you would just walk around, and I'm like, oh, everybody else, they're not real. This is all fake.
This is all illusion. This is I listened to a podcast review, and I can't remember what it was. I think it was Kind of Funny that mentioned that it's just like, oh, this is just Westworld. You're just in Westworld.
Yeah.
You know it. Like, these are just robots. You're in Westworld, and they're doing a pretty good job, but that they're not real. And I think that's the thing with Starfield is like, it's reasonable, it's understandable. Like, yes, they're there to give you quests and backstory. That's it. You just want a little bit more out of it.
Exactly.
So
exactly. You feel like you wish you just wish it would it almost feels like you said, it's like, I think you're right to compare it to Baldur's Gate, because like when you're in Baldur's Gate 3 and you're playing that, you feel immersed, like you said, everybody in there, regardless, even if it's just an animal like or something like that role,
they have emotion.
Exactly.
They feel like they have stakes, and it's like,
exactly.
And I think that's the big problem with Starfield is that, and I think this is across the board, while I love the Free Star Collective like storyline and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and I do enjoy the main quest storyline with the collective, at times it feels like the stakes get lost, where there's not
Yeah.
really any stakes. It's just like there's this again, the illusion of, oh, you have to do this,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel like it matters if you do it. You know what I mean? And
Exactly. No,
that's the
definitely.
case with the NPCs, where they're like, oh, you need to do this. But what if I don't? Like,
Exactly.
what if I just don't do your story? What's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen.
Exactly.
Like, I'll come back to you a couple hours later and you just be like, hey, have you done that thing yet? And I'm going to be like,
Yeah.
nope. Oh man, I really wish you would do it. It's like, great. Like, there's no like progression almost. Like, there's like,
Yeah.
That's what the frustrating thing about it is. It's just like, it doesn't feel like anything really matters in the grand scheme of things unless you unless you make it matter. Does that make
True.
sense? Like,
No,
for you,
definitely.
like as a player, like, and this kind of goes with my feelings with like Elden Ring, where like Elden Ring, you kind of have to make yourself want to do these things, which I'm sure, again, controversial statement. People are gonna be like, "Oh, Elden Ring is perfect." Blah, blah, blah. It's like, whatever. Like, the stakes just aren't there, and it doesn't matter if you do something or not. That's really what I'm getting
Exactly.
at. Like, it doesn't feel like anything matters, and I think that's
Very
the biggest
true.
problem that I have. One of the second biggest problem I have with Starfield is that nothing feels like it matters.
Exactly. Very true. Agreed. I think yeah, it's just like you said, unless you're in even like side missions, like the main quest line, when you're not in it, man, you feel it. Like, you just don't feel like you're just like, oh, I'm in this world. Like, you don't feel like you're it doesn't feel like your decision to not go do things will negatively impact the story, or you just don't feel the stakes, like you said.
Yeah.
And it's just that's one of the things, like you said, that it just breaks that illusion or that immersion of like, oh, we're in space, and you're like, well, technically I really don't have to do anything. I can just go do all this other stuff or whatever.
I can go do whatever the hell I want to do. And again, I think that's the double-edged sword where Starfield gives you, like, if you're not vibing with the storyline, if you're not vibing with the main quest, go find something else to do, and hopefully it clicks with you, because it doesn't matter at all if you do the main quest line. Like, it just doesn't. And that's what sucks about this too, is like, it doesn't matter if you do the collective stuff. It doesn't matter if you do any of these faction things. What matters is how you're finding that fun. And again, it all comes back to my number one reason of like, is this idea of finding fun.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, like, if you're after 4 or 5, 6 hours, you're not finding that fun, there's no reason to keep playing, because you're probably not gonna find it after 5 or 6 hours. Maybe you will. Maybe. I don't think you will. I don't think it's possible at that point, because the game doesn't really change that much after that 5-6 hour mark. Once you get through like a certain point within the collective storyline, once you get past that certain point, nothing really changes. Like, gameplay loop wise, nothing really changes. So,
Agreed.
So Starfield is definitely a game that this idea of finding fun is like the foremost thing that I can talk about. With that said, though, Starfield is my number one fucking game. Like, I fucking love Starfield. Let me fucking tell you. I love this game so much. I have so much fun with this game. Like, after I did find that idea of finding fun, for me, finding fun was the exploration. And I see a lot of people going, oh, there's no exploration. Everything is the same. You go to one dungeon, you go to one cave, and it's the same on all the planets, and blah, blah. I was like, my response to that is, well, that's the same in Skyrim. That's the same in Fallout. Like, it literally is the same. Like, you're just, if you've played Skyrim, if you've played Fallout, it is literally the same, like, caves getting recycled over and over again. I think Skyrim and Fallout does a better job of, like, having multiple different kind of layouts and looks to them compared to Starfield, because Starfield does have a sort of one look kind of fits all sort of thing. But Starfield exploration is what got me. Like, I love going to planets. I know you mentioned it, like scanning, gathering mineral, like scanning the minerals, scanning the animals, just going to these different planets and just experiencing it. That's my favorite aspect of Starfield. I love it. I love going to these different planets and base building. I have multiple outposts. across the galaxy. I've been leaving people on these planets and stuff. I've been recruiting folks to be like, hey, I need you to research and gather material here. I need you to do this stuff over here. Like, I don't know what I'm gathering this stuff for. Because I don't really do, like, outside of like building more bases and stuff, like I don't really use it to like upgrade my ship or upgrade my armor or weapons or anything like that. I'm just gathering it. I don't know what for. I don't know why I have them doing it, but they're doing it. So, but like I do like the exploration has really got me, and then again some of the faction quests have really got me. The Freestar Collective, and then what is the quest line called for the vigilante storyline? I don't know if you've found this quest line, but it's incredible. Let me see if I can't. Looking it up right now. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Can't remember the name of this. Oh, it's the Vanguard storyline. No, the Vanguard storyline's good. The Freestar Rangers. It's the Freestar Rangers, not Collective. I've been saying that wrong. Sorry. The Mantis storyline. The Mantis storyline is incredible. It's like you're a vigilante, and like it's almost like a Batman-esque thing. You learn about the Mantis slowly but surely. You start like piecing pieces together. Like the Mantis has been like a protector of the galaxy and stuff like that, and you find their Bat Cave essentially, and it's just an incredible storyline. Like I fucking loved it. And the Freestar Rangers is awesome. Just like I there's so many awesome like side quest stuff that you can do and get lost in the sauce, because the Mantis quest line starts with just some frivolous thing. It's like, hey, go here, some stuff is happening here, go deal with it, and then that opens up to a bigger thing. And I just got 5-6 hours later, I was like, holy shit, I'm on the edge of my seat just having an amazing time with this storyline. So I think, like, again, it's about finding the fun, because you can totally ignore this whole quest line. You may never experience. Did you find the Mantis quest line at all, El? Like,
no, I never found it. I think I was mainly focused on the main storyline. I did a couple faction stuff here and there, but I think I was just trying to mainline the story.
Yeah, and like I think that's the. When you deviate from the main storyline and start doing these faction quests, I really think things start opening up, at least story-wise, because like the Mantis is such a good like path to take, because again, it starts off with some frivolous thing and it opens up to so much more. But then you get to the specific faction quests, like the Freestar Rangers and the USC, right? The United Colonies, whatever their group is called. Vanguard. The Vanguard stuff starts off with like you're just doing basic quests, basic things. Oh, hey, I need you to go collect this money from this dude. I need you to go police this area. And like it starts off with these mundane things that you're doing, but then it starts opening up to these big, epic like events that lead to some of the biggest highs in a Bethesda game, in my opinion, that has ever happened. Like, you're getting some pretty epic, like big battle type situations with these quest lines. And I'm just like, I fucking love this. I wish this would have been more apparent from the start, because if I knew this is where it was going to go, if I knew this is where the Mantis storyline was going, if I knew this is where the Freestar Rangers was going to go, if I knew this was where this was going to go, and this and this and this, I would have been on board from the get-go. But like, all of that stuff is just you can just pass by all of that stuff and never know it exists. And I think that's a bad. I think I don't want to say Starfield should be able to point you in that direction, but it doesn't give you, because I think it does point you in the direction, because like it'll randomly pop up in your logbook like, oh, you ever heard about the Mantis? And that's the problem. Like the Mantis storyline, you only overhear it. And so if you're not paying attention to the NPC dialogue that's happening around you, you probably will miss it. Yeah. It'll pop up in your thing and you're just like, oh, I guess I got a quest. And this is another thing I have a problem with. Like random quests will just pop up into your storyline, into your journal, and you just be like, when did I get this? And it's because you overheard NPCs saying it, but then the game audio like cut out of for whatever reason, or the game doesn't highlight the fact that, oh, you should listen to this conversation these two random characters that I just walked by had. I need to listen to what they're saying. But like the game doesn't do a good job of making you want to stop to listen to the conversation because none of it really matters. Yeah. Unless you invest the time into it. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, I've rambled so much about this. I do love this game though. Like I know I've been so freaking negative about this game, and I apologize for that. But yeah, Starfield. I do love Starfield. And like a lot of it for me, like the negativity comes from like I see the potential that it could have because this could be a 10 out of 10 game. This could easily be a 10 out of 10 game because there's just so much there that's so good. It's just wrapped around in a lot of fluff. Yeah. A lot of fluff that doesn't matter. And then it also has the unfortunate situation where the NPCs feel lifeless and feel robotic. Yeah. Especially coming hot off the heels of Baldur's Gate 3 and other games that just feel like they have more life in them. Yeah. Because I would argue that Sea of Stars, a game that I don't particularly enjoy, but even Sea of Stars, kind of like the NPCs that you interact with still feel like they have more life to them than some of the NPCs that you meet in Starfield. So, yeah.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. No, yeah, definitely. This game, man, like there are moments for those who enjoy it where you're just like, wow, this is like amazing. Like you said with the faction mission, with the Mantis mission, where it's just like, wow, I wish, like you said, like there was a little bit more of this or something. And it's just, you have those moments where you kind of fully immerse and you're just like, this is amazing. This is great. And then you get taken out like with fluff, like you said, or with just random things, and you're just like, ugh. And it's those little things that eventually kind of just, you know, are a detriment to the overall game that you're like, I wish it had less of this and I wish it was more like that. Yeah. And it does have those lightning in the bottom moments. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like those little moments just like navigating the menus. I fucking hate it, dude. Like, oh my God. I hate like pressing M on the keyboard to open the system and like open the map, and then you go scroll out and go, I'm gonna go to this. I'm gonna go to this system. I gotta set a point to that, and then I gotta jump to that system, and then I gotta focus in on a plan to go to the specific planet. It's like, this is fucking too much. This is too much. Like, streamline this shit. Like, like it's little annoyances like that, and I think Starfield is full of the little annoyances that make it an unpleasant situation, especially for somebody that is just coming into this wanting to have a good time. It's the little annoyances that can ruin the experience. And that's, again, why I think this works in the 75 to 85 range. Like, it does not surprise me that this is where it's landing, because it absolutely, the little annoyances ruin this experience for a lot. Like, it ruined it for me early on. And then it was just me forcing myself to keep playing. So,
exactly, yeah. Agreed. No, I agree the same. And it's like, it makes sense because as I was playing through it, I was just like, oh yeah, definitely. Like the reviews that I was getting, I was just like, yeah, this definitely isn't up in the 90s. And I was just like, maybe like mid to low 80s, high 70s. I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense, you know? You know, it's I'll say that this game it landed exactly where I thought it was going to land. Just with like, you know, all the setbacks that they had with just like, they kept delaying it and just everything that they had to do to make this game like just come out and be somewhat good. I'm like, this is definitely where it is supposed to land for me. Yeah. And, you know, after all that being said and everything that we said, I think that this game isn't just bad, but I think it's an okay/good game, you know, if you're into Bethesda games, you know, because I think, like there are moments where I'm just having a blast, man. Like, and I'm just enjoying myself with the combat. Because I remember before we talked about like, you know, is the combat any good? Like, is it, you know, is it, hopefully it's like good. And like, I'm having fun with the combat. Like, I just have so much fun with it. But yeah, it's just like there's certain moments, like you said, that the immersion just gets pulled back and you just kind of wish that it was a little bit stronger in certain areas. So
I will say this is the best combat has felt in any Bethesda game. So take it for what it is. Take it for what it is.
Exactly.
It's the best that combat has felt. As simple as that. It's the best way I can put it. So, any last thoughts before we wrap this up, El? Any last things you want to say?
I'll say that. Yeah. Well, I kind of feel like maybe I've said everything. I think that the last thing I'll say, this is gonna be random, but space is cool.
Space is cool. Space is wow, that's so deep. Space is cool.
Space is cool. That's a metaphor. No.
Hey, Tim, did you know space is cool? Yeah, man.
I think this, like I said earlier, that I love the exploration part of this. I love the combat of it. They're like it's what I imagine what may be. I don't know if we won't be here for it, but one day
we'll be
civilization
dead.
will be like...
We'll be long dead. No.
We'll be long dead. Unless I freeze myself. No. I think
it's going to be like Cartman and when he froze himself for the Wii, right? You remember that episode of South Park? Anyways.
Yeah. No, but I think that it draws in on a lot of what's it called for me, what I think civilization will eventually get to, some 1,000 years or whatever. And I think it's so cool, man. I love the idea of what civilization could be. And so but everything else with the game, I think I've said basically everything I needed to say, where I think it's a good game. It has certain moments, it's very strong in certain areas, but overall, like, man, I had a blast with it personally. So
one last thing
Mm-hmm.
that I need to know. My brain just went blank. Sorry. I accidentally erased everything on the dock, so I was trying to restore it. There we go. It's restored now. Damn, what was I going to say? I can't remember. It's not important anymore. I know what I was going to say. Did you visit Earth, and were you disappointed?
I don't think I visited Earth.
You didn't go to Earth? I mean, you have to go to like Mars at some point.
Oh, Mars, yeah. Oh, Mars?
You had to go to Mars at some point. So did you not go to Earth afterwards? Because like I went to Mars and then immediately was like, I'm gonna go to Earth. And there's nothing.
No,
there's nothing on Earth. There's nothing on Earth.
No, I did go to Mars, but I never got curious to go to Earth. I was like, forget Earth. I was just like, I'm over here. Like,
oh, there's nothing on Earth. It's just a dust bowl. It's like they had like a nuclear war or something and it wiped everything out on the planet. So
wow.
I was like, oh yeah, that seems accurate. That seems accurate. I don't think it was like a nuclear war. I can't remember what exactly they explained it in like the lore stuff that I didn't give a shit about.
Oh,
like
that's so funny.
Something happened on Earth and it's like lifeless. So
that's crazy. No, I think I went to Mars and I was like so like just pulled in with all the rest of the planet. I was like, I don't need to go anywhere else. I'm just gonna go here.
I don't need to see
I didn't
Earth.
even think about that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, Earth. Who cares about Earth?
Yeah, fuck Earth. Earth sucks.
That's so funny.
To be fair, Earth absolutely sucks in the game. So. There is some cool stuff. Like they have like random, and it's like they have like random, depending on where you land on Earth. Like if you land in Europe, like close to where like the UK is, or close to where Florida is, or wherever you decide to go, they'll have like landmarks, real life landmarks that are still there.
Ah.
But it's just surrounded by ruins and stuff like that. Or it's just dust everywhere. It's not even ruins. It's just dust. But somehow, like the St. Louis, like the Ark in St. Louis, it's somehow still standing there. Something in like the UK is still standing. It's like, but everything else is destroyed around it. That doesn't make sense.
That's hilarious.
Anyways, so. With that talk of Starfield, again, I feel like we were kind of negative, but I want to make it clear that I absolutely love this game. I've said it 4 times now on this. I do love Starfield. I know I've been incredibly negative. I do think there's a lot to enjoy about it. I think it's unique for me because like I'm a big fan of Bethesda. I enjoy the Bethesda games. I came in knowing that Starfield was going to have this certain point where, oh, this is when I'm going to actually start enjoying it. and that's again based off my experience with past Bethesda games. But I absolutely understand, like, someone coming into this game not having the history with Bethesda, not knowing what a Bethesda game is, coming into it and being like, this game is boring after like 2-3 hours of playing it. Completely understand. Like, I agree. Like 2-3 hours into the game, I was bored. I was like, I'm not enjoying this at all. I forced myself to keep playing, and I did find the fun. And I think that is a detriment to Starfield. So yeah. With that all said, let's go into the rankings.
Oh,
I already revealed my ranking for this, so
of course.
So we'll start with me, because Starfield is my number one game. So Starfield. I said Star Wars. Starfield number 1. Sea of Stars number 2. Number 3, Cocoon. Number 4, Arcade Paradise. Number 5, Amnesia: The Bunker. L, you currently, without Starfield, you have Sea of Stars at number 1, Cocoon at number 2, Arcade Paradise at number 3, and Amnesia: The Bunker at number 4. And then our overall stuff, that doesn't include Starfield yet. Sea of Stars is our number 1, Cocoon's our number 2, Arcade Paradise is number 3, and Amnesia: The Bunker is number 4. So L, where are you putting Starfield on your list?
You know, I had a long thought about this where I was like, is it better than Amnesia? And I said, no, I'm joking.
Oh, God. It is leaps and bounds better than Amnesia, and I'm putting an end to this blasphemy right now.
No, when I compare it to the other games that I've played that I've had fun for the most part, to me, I mean, it's no surprise. I'm going to put it at number 1.
You are putting it at number 1.
Yeah, I am putting it at number 1 because I think I did have more fun with it. Cocoon was great. So is Sea of Stars. Of course, this is way better than Amnesia: The Bunker. Same thing with Arcade Paradise. It's way better than Arcade Paradise.
They don't even exist. They're going to be gone eventually off this list. So,
but Cocoon is fun, and I love that world. But I loved Starfield's exploration a lot more, even though it had its missteps. And then Sea of Stars, it's the same thing where I think I've enjoyed more Starfield than I did playing Sea of Stars. And so for me, Starfield is definitely, I think, on this list number 1 for me, just because for the simple fact that of the Find Your Fun was definitely a big point for me where I was like having a blast just exploring, doing all these extra things, the combat and just like space travel made it a lot more fun for me. And just had more,
I'm going to be honest, that was a surprise. I thought you were going to put it at like 2.
Oh, no. I had a blast.
I was expecting it to be at number 2 for you.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it a lot, even though there were times where I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just having fun with the combat, No. And that says a lot about it for me, where I was just like, oh, this is so cool that I'm doing all this,
Yeah. I think Starfield is, again, from the list, from the games we played, like Sea of Stars, I think Sea of Stars is a really good game.
Yeah.
It just lacks the depth that I feel like Starfield has. And then Cocoon is just a little too simple compared.
Yeah.
Which I think Sea of Stars, incredible game. Cocoon, incredible game. But yeah, Starfield is just kind of like, doesn't quite, even though it doesn't quite break the mold from other Bethesda games and doesn't quite push the boundaries of what an RPG can be, Starfield is still an incredible experience that I think people should give a try if you can. You know, it's on Game Pass, so you're not missing out. You're not, investing a lot if you are able to play it on Game Pass. If you have an Xbox or have a PC, get Game Pass to try Starfield out.
Yep.
You're not going to miss out on pay for the month or whatever and try it out. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, then cancel your Game Pass subscription or whatever.
Exactly.
I think Starfield there's such a low barrier of entry to Starfield that it's worth trying to see if it's going to connect with you. Because if it connects with you, if it can sink its teeth into you, there you go. If it sinks its teeth into you, Starfield is a game that you can play over and over again. You can just keep playing it. Whereas Sea of Stars doesn't. I personally don't think Sea of Stars has that replayability. I don't think Cocoon has that replayability. Arcade Paradise and Amnesia definitely don't have that replayability aspect. I feel like Starfield is a game that if it sinks its teeth into you, if you are able to find the fun, as I keep saying, Starfield will be a game that you will play for a long period of time. And that's also something for me that I'm judging this on. Like, I see myself playing Starfield a year from now, 2 years from now. I see myself still playing Starfield, whereas the rest of the games on our list, I'm never playing Sea of Stars again. Probably never going to play Cocoon again. Definitely never going to play Arcade Paradise. And let's not even talk about Amnesia the Butt Crack, because that's irrelevant to me because I hate that game. Like, I despise that game. So like Starfield is, though, a game that I can see playing for multiple years until like another Elder Scrolls game comes out or another Starfield comes out. Like, I see myself playing Starfield for a long period of time.
Definitely.
So, and the thing with that too is that it's going to come in phases. You know, like leading up to this, like just like 2 weeks ago, a week ago, I was like, oh yeah, we got to do the Starfield review. Oof. I probably made you think I was going to be negative about it. I don't know. But like, I remember just being like, oh yeah, we got to do that, by the way. And you're like, oh yeah, we got to do that. So I was like, oof.
Hilarious.
Let me tell you. But no, Starfield is a game that I can play. I foresee myself, and it's the same with like any Bethesda game. I regularly go back and play Skyrim or Oblivion or Morrowind or Fallout or Fallout 4 just to experience it, just to play it for a little bit. Am I going to stick with it forever? Probably not. But like a year from now, I'll probably play like for a week straight and then not play it again for another year or so. So yeah. I don't know.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Anyways, that's it for us. Elle, wind us down, you son of a gun.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in to Review Please Video Game Edition on this episode where we reviewed Starfield. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for future Review Please Video Game Editions, where next month, if you want to play along with us, we're going to be playing Lies of P for next month.
I've already played it.
Whoa.
I've been playing it for like 3 months. No, not even hilarious. 3 months. I've been trying to play it for 3 months is the more appropriate thing.
But yeah, next month for December's game is Lies of P. All these games are going to be from Xbox GamePass. So if you have that, that's where you can get them, or if not, get Game Pass. But make sure to subscribe to our channel, Respawn Please Podcast here, for future videos for the podcast, Respawn Please Podcast, as well as make sure to hit the bell icon to be notified of the future videos. Check out the podcast, available everywhere you get podcasts, just Respawn Please Podcast, as well as Review Please Anime Edition. And then also make sure to follow us on social media on TikTok and Instagram at Respawn Please Podcast. Other than that, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.